Good morning, Rossmoor. I am Fran Gibson, president of the Rossmoor Emergency Preparedness Organization. We are celebrating our 30th year here in Rossmoor as an organization whose core mission is helping ready our neighbors for a disaster emergency that might strike Rossmoor, and to prepare our neighbors, help organize them should we receive a shelter-in-place order from civil authorities. We're delighted that you're here today. This is an important topic for everyone living and working in Rossmoor. The topic is wildfire evacuations, how to prepare ahead, how to leave Rossmoor safely, and how to return home securely. So we're delighted you're here. Please know that we will have a recorded, edited version of this that will be posted to our Rossmoor EPO website, which is www.rossmoorepo.org. It's also posted to our YouTube, EPO YouTube, and we are delighted always to know that Channel 28 is helping us out here, get the message out to a wider community. George Ivanoff, the wonderful director of Channel 28, is also recording this program, and it will be scheduled for showing on Channel 28. Harris, would you give us some rules of the game so that every attendee can thoroughly enjoy and get the most out of our Zoom meeting this morning? Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Again, at this point, we've got over 100 people in the meeting, and as I've said before, to avoid pandemonium, we ask everyone who is not a presenter to keep their videos turned off and keep their sound muted so that barking dogs or ringing phones in the background won't replace the speaker's image with yours, and that has to be edited out afterwards. We've even asked the presenters, when they're not speaking, they should mute their audio as well.
I don't hear
Everybody
anything.
can, there's an example right there of someone speaking in the background, and even though his video is off, his name is showing up. So please, Gil, mute your audio. Everyone can participate by adding any questions or comments in the chat control on Zoom, and Nancy Herney is going to consolidate those. There's usually a lot of repeats, and she'll direct them to the appropriate panelists. For the hearing impaired, there are live transcripts that have been activated, and they will show up in whatever language your computer is set for, and you can adjust where those transcripts show up, or if they're bothering you, you can hide them as well. And you can save a complete transcript of the presentation. As Fran said, it's being recorded to our YouTube channel. It'll have closed captions in English and subtitles in a lot of different languages. And if you stick around to the end of today's meeting, after the Q&A session, I've got a short video explanation of how to make the most out of our EPO and CERT training YouTube videos. And we'll get to that later. Fran, that's it. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Harris, very much. Let me go quickly through some announcements. We have a information-packed wildfire evacuations presentation today, but let me make a few quick announcements and let you know what the two future programs are coming up. For the first time in our history, EPO will have 4 original pages in the upcoming Rossmoor phone book on resident emergency preparedness. So I'm delighted to announce that. We will be doing something on wildfire evacuations, grab-and-go bag supplies, earthquake resiliency, and the alert messaging systems that we want all of our residents to opt into. I'm also honored to tell you that the GRF board has asked me to sit on a regional working group of agencies, Central Sanitation and East Bay Mud, and civic leaders from Walnut Creek, Lafayette, Moraga, Orinda, Alamo, and Danville, as we seek a long-term Central County water recycling site to meet the future water needs of our region versus having a single satellite facility housed inside Rossmoor. So stay tuned. The Rossmoor News is doing a great job of keeping us up to date on our committee, the working group's progress. I also sit on Walnut Creek's November 8th ballot measures committee. This is a November 8th ballot measure for a half-cent sales tax for the next 10 years only that will yield $11 million a year for emergency preparedness, public safety, and disaster relief improvements, as well as other vital infrastructure restoration and programs that impact the quality of life for all in our city. I am delighted to represent EPO, and we're working hard to make certain that this future quality of life ballot measure crosses the finish line. Much funding from this ballot measure serves EPO's core mission and the challenging needs of a vulnerable senior community like Rossmoor. PG&E, as you know, we have been under a stagnating heat dome heat wave for the last 9 days or 8 days. You can sign up for PG&E's Power Saver Rewards program at www.powersaver.pge.com. You can receive a credit on your utility bill by reducing your energy use between 4 and 9 p.m. on extreme heat days, by setting your thermostat to 78, turning off all unnecessary lights, reducing major appliance use like washing machines, dryers, dishwashers. This annual program runs from May 1st to October 31st, and your credit will show up on your utility bill at the end of October each year. It's very easy to sign up. I did, and I always like getting a money back that I don't have to give to PG&E. The annual Falls Prevention event for Rossmoor, which is co-sponsored by the Rossmoor Counseling Center and Diablo Valley Foundation for the Aging, will be held on Thursday, September 22nd at the Event Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That event is listed on our homepage, rossmoorepo.org, and it's a very important event that centers on preventing falls, and falls, of course, are a major issue for residents living here in Rossmoor. Our EPO Emergency Preparedness Fair is scheduled to be held on Saturday, October 15th at the Event Center, but only if a team of volunteers steps up to organize and manage it. Nancy Herney and Shelley Peacock did an awesome job last year with our virtual fair, and they've left a very clear and easy roadmap to manage the fair this year, but that does depend on volunteer leadership. Let me know if you're interested in helping take on this role. Harris, I'm going to punt to you on the boots on the ground volunteers for our update project. Would you update people, folks, quickly?
Yes, Fran, thank you. One of the biggest benefits and aspects of EPO is the social and I guess communal value of getting to know your neighbors, knowing what their needs are, knowing who has capabilities to contribute in an emergency. And that's what the EPO teams do on all of the streets and entries, getting to know their neighbors, getting to organize people to help neighbors that don't drive to evacuate, neighbors that have trouble walking to get into a car or get ready to survive and be prepared. And with our aging community, the turnover is fairly high. Either people getting older and not having the time or capability to continue on as an entry coordinator, or just moving away, etc. And so the database we have is constantly evolving and changing, and a large part of keeping track and making sure that we've got good coverage for all of the Rossmoor evacuation zones, for example, needs a lot of work to maintain. And right now, a large part of it is still out of date, and there are a large number of areas that may have coverage, but we're not aware of it, and we can't help provide information and training and backup for that. So we really need a membership update and recruitment committee. Some of that out-of-date data does include emails and phone numbers, and people can help by following up with those to see if any of them are still valid. But there's a large chunk of our database that has no data at all, and we really need to get boots on the ground with people going out and knocking on doors and checking what the situation is on those entries and finding new recruits to help make sure we've got the coverage and keep everybody safe. We do have a couple of volunteers that have stepped forward, but we need a lot more. Fran, back
Thank
to
you, Harris. Members of EPO, if you're interested in helping out, please let me know. This is an important part of the work we do, and it will help us begin to cover the entries and streets without entries that do not have current coverage. But in order to know that, we have to update. I want to remind members that we need your $5 per year dues. We have expenses with our website that cannot be ignored. And we welcome donations. The holidays are coming up. Please consider donating in the honor of someone you would gift something else to, and tell them that you're going to give to our organization. I think we serve the best core mission in all Rossmoor, and I'll stand behind that statement. We also want you to update your membership. If you haven't done that in the last year, please go to our homepage, to the blue button, and push that button and give us the information. Even if you think that we have it, let us make certain that you were updated. I want to thank all our teams, all our members out there in Rossmoor land who help us meet our core mission. October 3rd's meeting is going to be co-sponsored with Rossmoor CERT, and we are delighted to tell you that we are hosting the global director of the Great International Shakeout. Can't get any higher than that, Mark Benthian. And this is the largest emergency drill in the world. He'll tutor us on how to duck, cover, and hold on, regardless of where we find ourselves when a major timber hits Rossmoor. EPO and Rossmoor Area CERT will award a prize to the most outstanding neighborhood drill, held on Thursday, October 20th at 10:20 a.m. Again, this information is on our website, rossmoorepo.org. So get your drill together in your neighborhood and win that big prize. November 7th is our final meeting of the year, and it's my final meeting as your president. We'll have a Zoom on helping each other meet our common challenges we face as local EPO teams, helping ready our neighbors for a major disaster emergency. Our bylaws call for a nominations committee meeting to present a slate of officers in October for a November vote by the membership, but this won't happen unless someone steps forward to run for president. I will serve as your past president for the next year, and I will be doing some activities related to being a past president, unless we do have someone who steps up. And I would promise my full support and appreciation to any Rossmoor resident who wants to help move EPO into its next stage. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to punt to Colene Reams-Trinterude. She is the past president of EPO. She's the Red Cross Blood Program lead, and she's going to provide an update on the upcoming 2022 blood drive for October 21st. Colene, take it away.
Thanks, Fran, so much. And thank you all to participate in our Rossmoor Red blood drives. Thank you to the EPO Club, Rossmoor News, GRF, and Channel 28, because it really is a team. Our next drive is October 21st, and you can sign up now. It's ready to take your volunteer donation. 32 of 44 appointments right now are already filled. So if you're interested, please sign up. And included in the 12 slots, we need 4 more Power Reds. That's a special type of donation, and you can call me for any information. My information is on the EPO website and on your screen and right now, and it's also in the Rossmoor phone book. We've started working on our appointment schedule for next year, 2023. This has been really difficult. We have 3 set right now, just in this last week, for January, July, and October, and we're still negotiating for one in April. I'm trying to get them all in the fireside room so we will be consistent, not moving from place to place. And Kelly and Lily at the Activity Center are really working hard to help set up these Red Cross dates. And as with everything else that we do in Red Cross, we need for the blood drives, we need 5 skilled people from the Red Cross to do the setup and taking and the storing of blood and the records and to run the drives. So on the Red Cross side, it's difficult to get all those people for the certain drives. So it takes basically a year of planning. So I want to thank the Red Cross volunteer also who comes in and helps and works. She also works in the Pleasant Hill Blood Donation Center. So if you want to do some other things and work for the Red Cross, please contact me and I'll help you get in contact with the people that will be glad to have you as a volunteer. So on the last blood drive that we had on Friday, July 15th, we had filled up 40 of the 42 available appointments. And as I told you last time, a disaster happened and we didn't have power starting at 1 o'clock for the rest of the day. So we had the people, yes, but no power. We had to cancel it at the balance of it, but we were still able to register and take the blood from 22 donors. And we collected 22 units and we had 1 new donor, which are important because we're losing, like myself, I got AFib, and so now I can no longer give blood because of the blood thinners. So it's really important to continue to have the new donors. The 22 donors that we had potentially can save up to 66 lives. That's pretty amazing. Some of the donations after filling local hospital needs also went to Providence Little Company of Mary Medical Center in Torrance, California, and the HIH Health Hospital in Downey, California. So most of those canceled donors have been called also and signed up for the upcoming drive on October 21st. And I wanted to tell you that we have about 10 donors who say, sign me up for all the future dates. So I'm trying to make it all as consistent as I can for the good drives. So for best results, download the Red Cross Blood Donor app on your phone. It gives you your blood type, blood donation history, and what you can do, and a lot of other information. If you have any questions about donating, please call or email me. And again, my information is on your screen now, but it's also on the EPO website. So thank you very much. Your blood donation and support is very important. So 1 pint of blood can possibly save 3 lives is the important thing to take away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colene. I want to welcome Noell Crosse, who's County Fire's awesome public education coordinator, and Lieutenant Drew Olson, Walnut Creek Police Department Zone 1 Commander. Together, they're going to provide information on wildfire evacuations. I've had the pleasure of working with Noell in helping develop Rossmoor's Home Fire Safety Survey, and the pleasure of working with Lieutenant Drew on our Mutual 68 city evacuation drill on May 15th. They both are great assets to our community. Before we turn it over to Noell, I just want to say one quick decision-making study that I came across that I think is really important for our discussion today. The U.S. Forest Service researcher Sarah McCaffrey did a wildfire evacuation decision-making study of 3 states in 2016, finding that only 1 in 4 people leave immediately upon receiving a mandatory evacuation order. 2 out of 3 people take a wait-and-see approach in wildfire conditions, and we have seen in recent Northern California wildfires just how lethal that decision can be. Residents die because they cannot escape the more intense, faster-moving wildfires that now dominate our new climate regime across the American West. And then 1 in 10 people stay and fight, another very deadly decision, especially for seniors. Let's make certain in our EPO wildfire messaging to Rossmoor residents in the neighborhood and the community that we impress upon residents not to become a wildfire statistic, and instead to leave immediately following a mandatory evacuation order, or leave voluntarily anytime we feel unsafe in wildfire conditions. Our two speakers this morning will underscore how important our household evacuation decisions can be to the safety and well-being. We have 6,676 households here in Rossmoor, and not all of them would be evacuated likely at any one time, but it's important that we get to all people and to get the messaging across, how to evacuate, how to prepare your household ahead of time for an evacuation, how to evacuate safely, and then how to return to Rossmoor safely. So Noell, I'd turn it over to you. Welcome, a big welcome. This is not your first meeting with us. We're delighted to have you return and help us with the messaging. Noell.
Well, thank you for having me. You know I love being here. I love my Rossmoor peeps. Good morning to everyone out there in virtual land, and thank you, Harris, as always. You just always know how to take care of us and make this easy, so can't thank you enough, and thanks, Franny. I appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit. So I'm gonna start this off by talking about some of the things you want to do before the evacuation, right? That's the whole planning and the preparedness part, the stuff that Fran's constantly pounding about. Be prepared, have a plan, have your go bags. So we're gonna go over some different topics. I'm gonna talk a little bit about some notes I made. And again, if there's any questions, they go in the chat, we'll answer them after. Just so you know, I don't know if I have all the answers. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I don't, Harris and Franny will have those for me, and I will get them to the people that can answer them, and we will get the answers back to you. So just know that we'll take care of it one way or the other. So let's start off real easy, right? Do you know what your evacuation zone number is there in Rossmoor? Are you familiar with, I don't know if you, you can't see it. Anyways, you guys have those, I have the filter on, so it didn't work, but you guys have a little map that shows all your evacuation zones there in Rossmoor. I know it's been printed in the Rossmoor News. Tom Cash has put it out there. Fran shared it with you guys. If you don't have that at your fingertips right now, and you don't know what evacuation zone you're in, do me a favor. When the weather is cool, go for a little walk out of your entry. Outside of your entries, where your entry sign is, there's a little sign that says WC, and I hope I'm saying it right, but then there's a number. And that tells you your evacuation zone. And you need to know that, because if you get an alert or you get a call or you get a text or an email or something and they say evac zone WCR003 is going to be evacuating, you need to know if you're in that zone so you can get out. So understand that when these evacuations happen, it's like Fran said, it's not going to be all of Rossmoor going at one time. That's impossible. That's basically funneling about 10,000 people out of one exit, maybe two if we're lucky, depending on what's going on. So they're going to do it in phases. So you need to know when you're supposed to go. Also, you need to know how to be equipped for that. So we're going to go through all this right now. So first of all, the first thing, just get familiar with your zone number, okay? And having an evacuation plan with 2 destinations identified. If you have to evacuate and you need to leave Rossmoor to go stay somewhere else for a little while, where are you going to go? Do you have an RV? Are you going to go to a campground? Are you going to go to a hotel? Are you going to go to a friend's house? Do they have COVID right now? Is anything going on in their world? How about, do you have pets? A lot of people think that they're just going to evacuate and they'll go to the Red Cross shelter and that's where they're going to stay. And yeah, that may work for you, but just know that Red Cross shelters, you don't know exactly where they're going to pop up. That's why Red Cross has plans A, B, C, D, and E, because they don't know where the disaster is going to be. So you don't know exactly where you're going to have to go. And if you have animals, not all shelters allow animals. There's people there with allergies, or they have different liabilities for maybe the building they're in. So if you have a list of pet-friendly hotels that you can go to with your animals, think of those things as well. Remember, there's 5 P's to evacuation, okay? There's people, that's the first P, okay? That's you and any other people in your house that need to be taken care of. Then there's your prescriptions. We all have them. I don't care who you are. Everybody takes something, a vitamin, an allergy pill, blood thinners, whatever. I don't care who you are. Everybody takes something at some point during the day. Make sure you know, even if it's heartburn medicine, make sure you have it. Okay. Then your papers, right? Important paperwork that you're going to need in case you have information you need to grab while if you're out away from your home. Your personal needs, that's their 4th P, and 5 is priceless items. So people, prescriptions, papers, personal needs, and priceless items. Those are your 5 Ps. So those need to be factored into your plan. The people that you're taking care of or yourself, do you have mobility issues? One of the things we're realizing here in the fire district is it's not so much age or demographics or money that keeps people from being able to prepare and evacuate safely. The biggest issue for evacuation is mobility. What are you able to do? And we're going to talk about that here in another bullet. Don't just count on your phones and the electronic devices, please. Sometimes things go wrong, you drop it, you know, you're nervous, you're carrying stuff, it breaks, whatever. Plan ahead. Have a paper map as well. Have that hard copy that you've highlighted your routes. Even if it sounds silly, practice your routes. I know this sounds a little goofy, but when I have to go to a new place to do a presentation, or I'm going to be going somewhere that I'm not familiar with, I will take a drive after work and I will drive to that location just to see where I'm going to be. I want to know what the route looks like. Are there schools nearby? Is school going to be in at the time that I'm going? How much traffic am I going to hit? Where am I going to park? What does my setup look like? You want to do these things. Practice those routes. Have a plan A, have a plan B, and drive those routes. What if you're pulling a trailer and your route is a really windy road? You're going to need to know that so you can be prepared for that. So it's just, this is just all this prep work that kind of goes into it. And you don't have to do it all at once. I'm a big proponent of little bit at a time. Whatever little thing you do today to get prepared is just going to help you that much more later on down the road. So just imagine, how do you eat an elephant? Just one bite at a time. So start with taking a walk to find out which evac zone you are. Then you want to start thinking about where you're going to go if you have to leave. Then how are you going to get to that destination, right? So we're on our 3 bullet points here. This 4th one here at the bottom, your grab and go bag. That's where some of those 5 Ps I just mentioned go in that go bag. Have backup prescriptions. Most scripts can last for what, up to a year or so? So get a backup thing of prescriptions and put it in your go bag so you don't have to worry about it. So if you got to go, I can't go anywhere without my allergy pills. I got to have them all the time, every day. So I got a backup bottle in my car. Your papers, your personal needs, things like that. Put hard copy if you can in a Ziploc or something so it's waterproof, stick it in your go bag. But for those of you that do like your technology, and I'm not going to believe just because you're an older adult, you don't know how to use technology. I think that's bull. I think people underestimate our older generation, and it's wrong. I know that my 91-year-old grandfather can shop on Amazon like nobody's business. So I know he knows how to use a computer. I know he knows how to use his cell phone, right? You do too, and you can. And if you don't know how, learn. Ask Fran, ask one of your neighbors. There are people out there that will come to you and show you how to use your smartphones and your devices to help you. You can take pictures of all your important paperwork and have it right there in your phone. This is also important when we talk about pets, okay? So that grab and go bag, you need one for you. You need one for every person in your household, okay? You don't have one go bag for 3 people or 2 people. Each person has their own with their own personal items, their own prescriptions, and your pet should have one. And something very important for your pets. So my previous work, I was with Animal Services for 15 years, and we built an emergency response program in Animal Services. One of the most important items that I wanted people to have, besides, you know, the vaccination paperwork and that kind of thing for their pets and any meds they needed, was a photo of you with your pet. And I'm going to explain why that's so important. Let's say you have a black cat, okay? And your black cat has one little white hair right there on his chest and one white fingernail on his toe that differentiates him from every other black cat out there. Your cat gets away from you in a disaster. You evacuate, you go to a Red Cross shelter, you find out that the animals that were found in Rossmoor were taken to an emergency animal shelter located wherever. So you walk into this animal shelter and you tell the people at the front desk, well, I lost my black cat and I'm from Rossmoor. So they take you to the cat room. And you know what you're going to see? Because it's not just going to be Rossmoor. It's going to be anywhere near Rossmoor, anywhere around that area, Walnut Creek. It doesn't matter. It could be from Concord and it just accidentally ended up in the Rossmoor shelter. It gets confusing. You're going to walk into a room with possibly 10 to 30 black cats. How are you going to know which one's yours? And if you do see one that you think is yours, how do you let the people there know that it is yours? Because you've taken photos of these little identifying marks on your animals and then a picture of you with your animal. That is the quickest way for you to reunify with them. Microchipping them, number one, and having those photos. Those are those two things right there at the top. So don't underestimate photos with anything. Use those devices, use those smartphones, use your iPads. They're there for a reason. It's like a little mini computer you can take with you anywhere. It's got all kinds of tools in it besides just making phone calls and looking at cool videos on the internet and buying stuff on Amazon. You can do a lot with it. Get familiar with it. Don't sell yourself short, okay? Just don't. You guys are fully capable of doing this. I believe in you, and I know that there's people that'll help you, and I'll help you, and I know Fran, and I know all of her people in EPO will too. Next slide. Speaking of those cell phones, okay, and those smart devices, have you signed up your cell phone? So one of the other important things about being involved in a disaster emergency is staying informed, okay? So you know what's going on around you, not just there in Rossmoor, but outside of Rossmoor and even further outside of Rossmoor. You need to know what road conditions are gonna be. You need to know where emergency services personnel are gonna be. Where is the Red Cross shelter gonna be? Or where are these people set up to give you help? So take that phone, sign up for your Nixle in Rossmoor. Nixle is just a neighborhood thing where you get a text message of what's going on in your neighborhood. The community warning system is great. That's through the sheriff's department. So I get those calls all the time. And it can be anything. It can be from something major to something minor. You're going to get alerts when there's somebody who's gone missing. Like if somebody has Alzheimer's or dementia and they walk away from the house and they can't find them, you get an alert on your phone and they give you a description of the person and the area they're missing. Their Walnut Creek has a Walnut Creek alert. A lot of the cities do. They have their own alert systems. There's also something called Pulse Point, which is for fires that you can follow and see what fires are happening for Contra Costa County. And you can even sign up for other counties. If you have friends or family, I have my grandfather's in Clear Lake. They don't have a Pulse Point for there, but they do for Solano County. And Solano butts up pretty close in Napa and all that area to where a fire could affect him eventually. So I have those alerts that come up and let me know. And I get the Nixle stuff, I get that from Clear Lake. So when he has a wildfire, he doesn't pay attention to anything, okay? He chooses not to stay informed. So I stay informed for him. And then I call him and I say, hey, you smell smoke? And he says, yes, I do. And I said, okay, just know it's not near you and you're okay. You don't have to go anywhere. Well, good, because I didn't want him. That's what I get. So you need to stay informed. It is our responsibility to do that. This is really important too. Your resident emergency contact information with Golden Rain. You should keep that up to date yearly. I would say maybe twice a year, but yearly is probably good enough. But also Fran and Harris mentioned something really important in the beginning when they were talking to you guys. They were talking about resources. What resources can you provide to your community and your neighbors? Resource identification is something that I think is glossed over too much and it should really be looked at. There are a lot of capable people that live in your community. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not be too proud. There is nothing prideful about making yourself a victim and being a secondary emergency for first responders. If you don't take care of what you need to take care of and reach out and tell people that you need that help when the time comes, all you've done is create a secondary emergency because now you need to be rescued in the middle of a disaster. So just please let people know what you're capable. If you know how to pull a trailer, if you've got a tow hitch on your truck, if you're a nurse, if you work in the geriatric field, if you know how to move people, that if you're willing to help your neighbors and you can load up some people and take them with you in your evacuation zone, far out. That's what GRF and that's what EPO needs to know. You guys are a community. So you're all in this together. None of you are immune from anything. You live in mostly multifamily residential housing, which means you're in units like condos, apartments, things like that. I mean, I know there's some single family homes out there, but you guys are a very tight knit community, and you've got the resources, you've got the talent, you've got the smarts. So put it together and make it work for you guys. Okay. Manually opening a garage door. I did not realize until I did a presentation about a week ago how many people don't know how to do this. I was kind of shocked. Not that I'm making fun, I'm not judging, but I was kind of shocked. So for those of you, most of you have carports, I've noticed out there where you kind of pull into a carport. Let me tell you, for those folks that are pulling into those carports, if you can pull in backwards and back into your spot, that would be great. Only because it takes a few seconds off your exit time, right? If you can just look forward and see where you're going and pull out and go, takes a few seconds off, those seconds help. But manually, if you have a garage door and the electricity goes out, there's usually a little red cord, and it's got like a handle or something on it that's underneath the motor of your garage door. My hands go all over the place, everybody. Sorry, I'm Italian. This is how we talk. We use our hands. So if the electricity goes out, you basically pull that cord and it disengages the electric motor and makes it manual. That's all you have to do. Pull it, and then you just lift the garage door. Now, that sounds super easy for me, but that may not be super easy for you. So again, this is one of those things where write this down. If you have a garage door, if you can, see if someone can help you. You can re-engage it, but see if you can, actually lift your garage door. Is it an aluminum garage door where it rolls up and it's lightweight, or is it a wooden garage door? I don't know, but see if you can even do that and be prepared for that. And here's where we talked about before about having those resources. Can you self-evacuate? Can you? Think about that really. And think about how much time it might take you. Maybe you can self-evacuate, but your mobility makes it slower. So how do you make it faster? And just so you know, I'm guilty of this as well. I tested myself. We had an emergency, drill, and I had our volunteers show up to the event and set up the temporary shelter and manage it. And then I came as a victim, and I was gonna basically, check them out and see how they were doing. So here I am at home with my 2 dogs, my 2 cats, my daughter, and all my go bags. I failed miserably, and I don't have any mobility issues. I just have stuff. I have my people, I have my pets, I have my things. It took me 20 minutes to load up my car. 20 minutes. That's an epic fail for me. It should not take that long. I was not prepared the way I should be. So when you talk about your self-evacuation, and even think about sheltering in place, there's 2 different types of things you can do here. And there's a lot of, we're talking about evacuation today, so I'm going to stick to that. But think about, if you can't evacuate, what are you going to do? You should, if you can't evacuate, you need to be calling someone and letting them know. You need to inform your family, your emergency contacts, or whoever resource you reached out to that might be a friend, and say, I'm unable to evacuate. I need help, or I got to stay put until a certain time. Okay. If you are going to be stuck, you need to secure your home and stay put. You want to unplug any electrical devices that you don't need to use. Make sure you have supplies that you can self-sustain for a little while, and you got to stay in communication and stay informed the whole time. Okay. Again, don't be afraid to reach out for help. Don't be too proud of it. It's not, it's nothing that to be ashamed of. We all need help, and it's okay to ask for it. I ask for help all the time. So have that plan in place. Think of how you're going to get out of your home, and you don't have to wait, okay, to evacuate. You can leave early. Matter of fact, I heard a great acronym at a meeting like years ago, and I wish I could just like copyright it, but I can't because it's not mine. But this gentleman was at a meeting and he said, please. And we're like, please what? And he said, please, Please. Please leave early and safely evacuate. So I'm going to share with you. I told you I have a 91-year-old grandfather. He lives out in Clear Lake. They have fires all the time. He's been there for 30 years. There's fires every year up there. He is the one that when the fire department shows up at the door and says, you were under a voluntary evacuation order, because that's usually how it works, all right? Usually fire comes by, it's voluntary. In his mind, voluntary means I don't have to go anywhere. I can stay put. And he knows fire, we don't have law enforcement capacity. We can't really force you to do anything. We're not sworn officers. We're just there to tell you, hey, danger's coming. It's probably a good idea for you to go now before it gets bad and the traffic gets bad. So he'll wait, and he has waited, and he's done this to me before. Then the sheriff department shows up about half hour, 45 minutes later and says, yeah, you're under a mandatory evacuation order now. And he knows that if it's the sheriff, that's legal. He's got to do it. But what did he do by waiting 30 or 45 minutes? I can tell you exactly what he did. He just added another 3 hours to his commute time. So what would have taken him 2.5 hours if he had just left early, or when he was told to, when he knew there was danger looming, he decided to wait an extra 30, 45 minutes, which all those people that were already evacuating were on the road. There's only 2 highways to get out of there. There's either Highway 20 or Highway 53. And he just added another 2.5 to 3 hours to his commute, which is not easy for a 91-year-old person to be driving and adding that much time. Time matters. So if there is a wildfire, if you smell smoke, if smoke is not good for you, you have bad lungs, or you just don't want to deal with it and you have your plan in place, leave. It's not going to hurt anything. Get out before the crowd. You ever go to a concert and then you can tell that they're on their last encore, or you're at a sporting event. I do this during hockey games. Right about the third period, I'm like, you know what? It's about 20 minutes before this game is going to end. I think I'll listen to the rest of it on the radio. I'm out of here. Because I don't want to deal with all the people and the crowd and the traffic. That's what you're dealing with here. So leave early. Just have your plan and be ready to go. Get out of Dodge. Get out of the way and go be somewhere and sit in your hotel room or in your RV with your air conditioning way out of the way of the disaster zone and relax. Call your family, call your out-of-state contact and tell them, hey, I'm good. I left. Wildfire's going on. House is secure. And I'm safe. How much better would it feel to be ahead of the game than stuck in the mix of it? That's all we're trying to help you with here. Okay, so in speaking of those household communication plans, this is really important, and it's something Red Cross has been telling folks to do for years. You need to do this. And it doesn't, if you don't have somebody 200 miles away, okay, but I want you to think outside of the area, like not just outside the city, outside of the county, okay? Even outside of the state is even better. So in a disaster or an emergency, the phone lines coming into your area are going to be used up quite a bit. They're going to be taken over by EMS. We don't know what's going to happen with cell towers. You just don't know how things are going to be, but it's going to be a heck of a lot easier, and it's been proven over time to get a line calling out of your area than calling into your area. So you want to think about, who do I know that lives outside the county or outside the state that is somebody that is home or at least available. Like, you don't want it to be my mom because she never answers her phone. She screams everything. So that does you no good. So don't call my mom. But if you have somebody who you know will answer a phone, and talk to them about this, communicate with them. I had an aunt that lived in Tennessee. So I called her up and I said, hey, I want to create an emergency plan for the family here in California. Would you be all right being our out-of-state contact for everybody to call you if there's a disaster, an earthquake, or a big fire out here? Would you be cool being the person that everybody checks into? It's a big responsibility. You got to answer your phone. You got to take notes. You know, you got to make sure you know who's who and where they're at, so you can let everybody know, so everybody knows they're safe. find that person. It doesn't have to be family. It could be a friend. It could just be somebody who's a close member of your, unit, your friends or family, whatever. But if they're willing to do that, communicate with them how it works and then set it up and then share it with the family. So everybody knows. So everybody knew we were going to call Aunt Fran. Okay. Even I know it wasn't you, Fran. It was a different Aunt Fran. But Aunt Fran was in Tennessee at the time. So she was our out-of-state contact. Luckily, we haven't had to use her, but she's there. So always make sure you have that out of area contact. It's going to be a lot easier for your family and friends to all kind of check in with each other to make sure everybody knows you're okay. Fully gassed. Don't just do this on red flag days. Do this all the time. Okay, I know we're talking about wildfire. That's why red flag's there. So I'm a little bit of an OCD when it comes to that. I hate going anywhere without a full tank of gas. I can't do it. It drives me nuts. I freak out because I never know I don't know if you guys have taken long road trips lately up Highway Interstate 5 and like heading up towards, Fort Bragg and that area. But a lot of the rest stops have closed down after COVID. They don't have the manpower to keep them going. There's a lot of gas stations and stuff. There's no that close down, or they close early because they don't have the manpower right now because they don't have the people to man it. There's a lot of businesses that have closed that we used to depend on and used to know about, and they're not there anymore. Okay, times have changed a little bit. So your old plan, if you had one, may not be still in effect. So you've got to update these plans too. So kind of in the weeds a little bit, but stay gassed all the time. If you're at a half a tank, just fill it up. Just be full. It's just easier. You don't want to have to stop at a gas station and wait in line in a disaster. You don't want to be worried about that. You just want to be able to get on the road and go. So this is just about that being prepared aspect. And lastly, just understand there's no cavalry coming. It's something we used to tell folks all the time. There's no knight on a white horse that's going to show up and save you. When the wildfire, it wasn't a wildfire, but there was a fire on Mount Diablo a few years ago, and it affected a lot of people out there. It's a lot, big rural area, a lot of ranches. And there was a person out there who ran a rescue ranch for old broken down horses. This person had 2 horse trailers and both of them had flat tires. This person had about 20 or so old, crippled, sickly horses that they were in charge of, their health and their safety, with absolutely no way of getting those horses out of the path of danger. That's their responsibility. They took that on. It is your responsibility to take care of you and your household. Whoever's in your household, if it's just you, you take care of you. You and a partner, it's both of you. You and your pets are depending on you. Now, however you deal with that is how you deal with it. I just want you to be ready. I just want you to be prepared. I don't want you to be a victim of this. Don't be that person that waits till the last minute and calls up at 2 o'clock in the morning and begs for somebody to come get them, because you may not get what you want. It may not go the way you think. And I don't want that to happen to you. So I've seen this plenty of times. I've seen good outcomes and I've seen bad outcomes. And that's what all this is about. We are here, Lieutenant Drew, myself, Fran, the EPO, Red Cross, we're all here to inform your discretion. We are here to give you the best information possible so you can prepare yourself. I saw some really good questions that were coming up in the chat. I know we'll address them, but if Rossmoor has a rule that they won't let you back into your carport, maybe you guys need to go to Rossmoor and change that. Okay, there's strength in numbers and strength in voices. Whatever you got to do to make your evacuation and egress as safe as possible, as quickly as possible, that is what's paramount here. So you have a good argument to say why you need to back in. Ask them what their argument is of why you can't. That's all I'd like to say on that. So please get familiar with your evac zones. Please start making your plan today, not just plan A, plan B, and plan C. Have a backup and be ready. Please don't be a victim. Okay. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's take care of our neighbors. Let's get out of there and get out of danger. Sound good?
Thank you, Noel. That was wonderful.
Well,
Marvelous. I'm going to highlight a few of the things that you said and address quickly, maybe perhaps some of the questions that are popping up that we can answer pretty quickly.
yes,
No,
ma'am.
there is no Calvary coming. There's no Golden Rain Foundation going to bring you what you need in terms of a grab and go bag or wildfire evacuation plan. Public safety is not coming. Securitas is not coming. Your mutual is not coming. And EPO and CERT local teams are not coming to help provide you and your household with what you need. We can help you get ready. There's no question about that. But we can't bring you the water, the non-perishable foods and the medications and personal items you need to evacuate. So this is important information. We like to tell people, residents here, Noel, to practice their destination route 2 times a year. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, you just never know if it's going to change. Roads are changing all over
Exactly.
the place. Lots of infrastructure is being upgraded. I just saw a question come in. They wanted to know how far away should their destination point be. I would have a few. I would have one that's, okay, so you're in Walnut Creek. I would plan one for, say, maybe Concord. Get a couple cities away, get a close one, because it may just be something small. Might be a gas leak or something tiny. Not that gas leaks are tiny, but you know what I mean. And then I would have another one, like have them phased out, have someone that's like a small, medium, large, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Maybe one that's about 10, 20 miles, maybe another one that's about 50. And in case it's a big one, think about really so my grandfather, this is what I don't understand. My grandfather, whenever there was a wildfire, my Nana had emphysema and she smoked for years. So her lungs were just, she had COPD, all that stuff. So when there was a wildfire every summer, as soon as he smelled smoke, he didn't have to see the smoke. He could smell it. They were in the motorhome and they would go to the coast. They would go straight to Fort Bragg where the air was clear and she could breathe. But he won't do it for himself. This is what I don't understand about things. So if you know this, have that. So for the person that asked the question about where, have a few. Make a list right now. Start going through the phone book. If you have a pet, make a list of all the different pet-friendly hotels from 20 miles to 40 to 60. Have a few different options. Okay, don't settle with one. Remember, you want plan A, B, and C. You want to be prepared in case your plan A goes up in smoke.
And if your destination point, Noel, includes family and friends, offer them a place in Rossmoor should they have to evacuate.
Absolutely.
Let it work both ways. I think that's great. Thank you. For those of you who want information on updating your GRF Mutuals emergency contact form, it's on our website under resident resources. You can download it, fill it out again, and you can drop it off at the public safety office. It's an important thing to do. Securitas keeps that on record. The mutuals scan it also if they need to contact your emergency folks if you have a health or major issue. And as far as going to the golf course, please do not evacuate to the golf course unless you're directed to do so by civil authorities. Fire Marshal Chris Bachman's predecessor, Fire Marshal Marshall, told us to all go to the golf course if we smell smoke or saw fire. We should not do that unless we're directed by civil authorities to do so. So please don't think that's the place to go immediately. As far as backing into carports, that's a mutual by mutual policy. I would think on red flag warning days and on evacuation advisory days that this would be very permissible. What I will ask Tom Cashin to do is to go to the President's Forum, which is the Mutual President's Forum that meets monthly, and talk to them about the need for residents to be able to back into carports on red flag warning days, and certainly if we had an evacuation advisory when you need to get ready to grab and go with your grab and go bag. And we do tell people to call 911 if you cannot evacuate. The city's emergency operations plan does state that they will mobilize transportation assets, and Tom Cashin assures me he'll do all he can to help folks who are carless or who cannot get out, have no other way under a mandatory evacuation order. that there actually are buses here that we can mobilize as well. So thank you, Noel. That is great information. And now let's turn to
Fran, I
Lieutenant Drew.
had one other item on this particular slide. Noel mentioned about the manually opening your garage
Yes.
doors.
Mhm.
Many of the garage doors in Rossmoor, it's not easy to access the pull chain to mechanically release the garage door.
Mhm.
We have a key just below the normal handle where you have to turn that key and it pops out a cable, and you pull on that cable and it releases the mechanical
The lock.
And
Mhm.
on the EPO website, there is a video, 2 videos from Madden Door that show exactly what you need to do and how that works. And then a lot of these garage doors are fairly heavy. Even once you get that mechanical release working, you may need a neighbor or 2 to help you start that garage door up. Once it gets moving, it's counterweighted, but it's hard to get started.
Yeah.
But all of that is on the EPO website.
So can I just say something real quick? Thank you to, is it Rona? I don't know if it's Rona or Rana. I can't, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. But you know what? This is exactly the type of information that needs to be put out there in a presentation such as this. I'm not aware, I wasn't aware that some of the garage doors work like that. And maybe some other people aren't as well. And the fact that you put out there that they may not even have the key, this is exactly what, so thank you. This is exactly what people need to hear. Please, everybody who's here today, do not be afraid to throw suggestions or items like this into the chat, because this is the kind of stuff that your neighbors need to be aware of and remember and think about now. I want everybody who has a garage door like Rona or Rana mentioned to go check and see if they have their key for that. And I want them to see if they can actually pull their door up and if they need help. This is the time. This is the time when you practice, when there is nothing going on. So you are ready when there is something going on. So thank you. Don't ever feel bad or feel like you're being a negative Nancy or something like that for bringing stuff up like this. This is exactly the kind of information that needs to be at your fingertips. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's great information to share. Good job.
Thank you, Noel.
I'll shut up now.
Marvelous presentation. Let's turn now to Lieutenant Drew Olson, who's going to tell us what we need to do as we are actually evacuating from our Rossmoor home. Lieutenant Drew, take it away.
All right, thank you. And thank you for having me again. I think this is my second time on an EPO Zoom, so hopefully it'll go as well as it did last time. So as you're evacuating your home, so the way it will work in a wildfire scenario is the police department will be working very closely with the fire department, making decisions on who to evacuate when. But ultimately, the decision will come from the police department to initiate any type of mandatory evacuation orders. If an evacuation order does come in, we're requesting that you try to leave within 15 minutes. A mandatory evacuation, that's gotten to the point where we're now to a point where we need to get people out as quickly as possible. The mandatory evacuation, it might actually be a little bit ahead of where there's actual imminent danger, but it's to know that we won't have the resources to go in and start saving people if people don't get out on their own at that time. So this is really trying to leave within 15 minutes and then plan for a slow process out of Rossmoor. I know the question about, and thank you, Fran, for answering that, about going to the golf course. We do not want you going to the golf course. If we give that order, then we will start telling people directly to go to the golf course, but that should not be the first thing that you try to do. We will have, I will make sure that there are officers out there to direct traffic. we will get people out as quickly as we can. But as we all know, the paved roads in and out of Rossmoor, there is one choke point. In a scenario where we're trying to evacuate large numbers of people all at once, we can open the entry lanes and have people be able to exit out of 5 or 6 lanes of traffic going out of Rossmoor, as opposed to just the 2 exit lanes that normally exist. We always ask people that if you feel unsafe at all, like if we're given an evacuation warning, not a mandatory evacuation order, and you just feel like you want to get out, by all means, get out. And I know Noel talked about it as well. The quicker you can get yourself to a safe location and, like Noel said, just relax and not have to worry about anything else, that is always better. Once the evacuation warning is given, it's really recommended that you get your pets ready to go, whether that's in their carriers or leashes on, however you're going to get them out, get them ready at that time. Like I said before, we will have police officers at major choke points to try and direct traffic and get people out quickly. That could be anything from Walnut Creek police officers to the Contra Costa Sheriff's Office helping out, California Highway Patrol. If it's a really big fire, we would be calling in resources from all over the place. So don't expect to necessarily see Walnut Creek police, but there will be police officers with cars that have lights on them to be able to direct people out, or civilian employees that the police departments have to help direct traffic out of Rossmoor. Take the fastest route on paved roads. So obviously you want to get down to the main Rossmoor Parkway road to get out of Rossmoor eventually. So the quickest route you can take down there, the best. But like it says, stay on paved roads. You do not want to be driving on gravel or dirt roads unless we open up alternate evacuation routes, which we will tell you about. Temporary evacuation points. So we use, obviously, Fran talked about a few of the different things to sign up for, like Nixle and stuff like that, Walnut Creek alerts. We also use Zone Haven. Zone Haven is a fantastic resource for us and for you. I'll give the website that we use. It's called community.zonehaven.com. So that's a way for you to be able to look and see what zones have been evacuated, what zones are under a mandatory versus a warning. And then it also allows us to put in the map any road closures, any temporary evacuation points. Road closures will pop up as a little red dot. Temporary evacuation points will pop up as a green dot, and they'll show you the places that you can go to. The red dots, when we do have a temporary road closure, those go to Google Maps, those go to Waze. So it will automatically alter your kind of the way that you should be evacuating. So those are things that we're working with Zone Haven and who are considered civil authorities, the police, fire. If we were to call in the National Guard, they would be civil authorities as far as directing traffic, stuff like that. Anyway, we're working with Zone Haven to make sure that we are updating the road, like I said, the road closures, the places that we've given or mandatory evacuation orders to. If you actually go into, I'll give it one more time and then we can put it in the chat as well. Community.zonehaven.com. Let me put it in the chat real quick. If you actually go on there, you can look up in the northern part of California where there are wildfires going on currently, and you can actually see the zones that have been evacuated. You can see the zones that the areas where there are temporary road closures and stuff like that. Over in Calaveras County, they were just updating during the heat wave. I mean, it was up to 115, 120 degrees out there. They were updating their maps to show where cooling shelters were and stuff like that. So it really is a great resource. When you go to that website, you can, in the search bar, you can just type your address instead of having to walk out to your to the beginning of your mutual. You can just type in your address and it will tell you what zone you're in Walnut Creek. So Harris, next slide, please. We always recommend that you evacuate in a vehicle if you can. Walking out, especially if there is smoke or debris issues, walking is definitely not recommended. If that's all you have, we can, I believe they were talking about the Golden Rain Foundation trying to figure out buses to be able to get people out, but a car is always more we recommend that much higher than walking out. Turn on your headlights. If it's smoky, we need to be able to see you so that we can and other cars can see you so that we can avoid any fender benders. Turn your car AC onto the recirculate mode and have your windows up so that you're not pulling smoke in and bad stuff in from the outside. I always listen to KCBS, but you can listen to KQED as well. So tune your car radio to one of those stations, 740, 106.9, or 88.5. They will be the stations that would be giving out the most up-to-date info, as well as if you have your cell phone, you can just go to the Zone Haven link or get the updates from Nixle or any of our social media platforms. Clothing, obviously you want to cover up, you want to wear an N95 mask that's vented if you can. Hats, shoes are better than sandals, obviously, in a situation like this, especially if there is debris or embers, stuff like that. And then if you can protect your eyes, protect your eyes. I know Noel already talked about this, but the grab and go bags for all of your household members, including your pets. And please, I talked about, we do have alternative exit points in Rossmoor. We will only be using those in at certain times. So those will not always be open. I know there's one at the end of Stanley Dollar that goes into Lafayette. Just because it's there doesn't mean we're using it. So our goal is to evacuate everybody on paved surface streets, because that's the safest way to do it most of the time. However, if it does get to a point where we need to have alternate exit points, we do have the ability to open those up, and the police will start, and maybe Rossmoor Security will start directing people in those directions when those are open. Go ahead, and I think that's the end of evacuating. So we'll go on to returning home.
Drew, can I just say
Yes, of course.
Just to highlight, thank you. This is wonderful, wonderful information. Thank you very much for the Zone Haven information and for that that site. I'm going to add that to our wildfire evacuation tip sheet that's coming up. That is very, very important. I saw somewhere in the chat box that some folks in other types of disasters, residents would choose on their own to go down to the golf course. I'm going to encourage you to listen to civil authorities. That would be the fire, the police, emergency medical personnel, National Guard, whomever. Follow their directions in every case for every disaster, because they're going to tell us the best information to keep ourselves safe and resilient. And as far as natural fiber clothes, I just wanted to emphasize, please don't pack any synthetic fibers. In high ambient temperatures that come with wildfires, the synthetic fibers stick and burn into your skin, and you're going to be in quite a miserable state of affairs if you are wearing synthetic fiber as you leave. Thank you, and Onward to returning safely, Lieutenant Drew.
All right, thanks, Fran. And yes, you're absolutely right. The clothing, firefighters, I work on I'm a bomb technician for the city of Walnut Creek, and we always wear 100% cotton clothing when we're dealing with anything that burns, because of just what you said. It is much less likely to burn into you. So, okay, so Rossmoor after returning to Rossmoor after evacuating. Waiting for the all clear order to return. So once the fire department, the police department, the fire department, any of our building inspectors that have had to come in if there is damage to structures, PG&E, once we've been able to determine that an area is safe for residents to come back in, we'll give the all clear. That'll be done through Zone Haven. It'll be done through Nixle, Walnut Creek Alerts. I'm sure the news media will be all over it, because we'll be putting out on our social media and press releases and stuff like that what areas are open and can be re-inhabited. Sometimes it will be a limited duration. We'll let people in just to gather items and then leave again. Sometimes it's just we're fully opening sections at a time. So those are, we just need to wait for the all clear before you come back. Never return at night if you can. I mean, visibility is paramount to safety, obviously. If you are coming back because you need to get medications or something like that, we could try to make that work. But in my experience in working in disaster zones up in like the Santa Rosa or Napa areas, when people do come back and it is reopened, if there's the ability to get in there at night, maybe an officer, if there's an officer around, they could go and help you, but I wouldn't bank on that. So typically try to come back during the day. Once again, just as when you're exiting, please drive with your headlights on. I saw in the chat, somebody said, make sure you aren't relying on daytime running lights. Absolutely. Turn your lights to full on and not just the automatic ones. But drive with headlights on, because visibility will be bad. And working in those areas and seeing those areas, there's a lot of people all over the place: firefighters, police officers, linemen working from PG&E, putting power lines back up, AT&T, Comcast, they're taking their lines down and putting them back up. So there's just trucks and cars and people everywhere. So please drive slowly, be aware of your surroundings, watch for workers in those areas so that we don't have another disaster on top of that. If there are barricades up, they're there for a reason. Whether it's an unsafe driving condition, or police or fire are still working in that area, or PG&E is still working in that area, please do not go around barricades if you see them. Like I said, they're there for a reason. Once you get home, please carefully inspect the outside of your manor, the perimeter of it first, just to make sure that everything looks like it did when you left, or that you don't see any like downed power lines, stuff like that around your manor that would cause you concern. Go ahead to the next slide, Harris. If it's structurally damaged, if your home is structurally damaged, I talked about building inspectors coming out. Depending on how big of a disaster it is, I mean, the building inspectors could be quite taxed for being able to get to all the buildings at one time. So if you do notice that your home is structurally damaged, please don't enter it. Wait for a building inspector to be able to look at it and determine whether or not you can enter that building. If you enter, or if you smell gas or hear a hissing or blowing sound, which is typically indicative of a gas leak, please do not enter your residence. Call the police, call the fire department. We'll get a hold of PG&E, and PG&E will come out to make sure that the gas leak is stopped. This should go without saying, but in those situations, do not smoke, light a match, light a candle, use any type of flame until it's safe to do so. That will include, once you get in there, opening up all your windows, getting some ventilation in your residence. You know, if the pilot light has gone out on one of your gas range or your water heater, it could be slowly filling your home with gas. So obviously, if you smell it, don't go in. But even still, just to be safe, open up all your windows to kind of get some ventilation going to clear out whatever was going on inside your house before. As far as before you start drinking water from the taps, wait for the all clear. And even once you do get the all clear, let the water run for a little while. Make sure that there's no discoloration in the color in the water. Make sure that it's running clear, and you let it run for a little while to let the pipes clear out. If we have gone through a pretty significant wildfire and you're now getting back into your house, expect that we may be under boil water orders. The water quality can deteriorate fairly quickly, and especially in a natural disaster. So if the I don't know who makes that decision, but if the water district is telling us that we need to boil our water, then we need to listen to them and boil our water, or use bottled water until it's safe to use your tap water. And then stay informed through our real-time emergency alerts, Rossmoor, Nixle, the Walnut Creek Alert, and the community warning system. No, don't relight your own pilot lights. I would say that should be a thing that PG&E does. My personal opinion. I'm trying to go through the chat here. We've been hearing for years we'll be trapped in a horrible traffic jam. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to take time. People who think that we're going to be able to just zip people right out of Rossmoor are fooling themselves. But that's no different than any community. Any community, it's going to take time and patience of the residents and the police officers to systematically evacuate people. That's why we have zones. That's why we use Zone Haven to be able to send these alerts to specific groups at one time. When I say we, police and fire agencies throughout the state of California have learned a lot over these last, 5, 6, 7 years with these massive wildfires that we've had all throughout the state. We've gotten better at identifying the evacuations that need to be done sooner, so that we're evacuating people before they're in imminent danger. Hopefully that's our goal. And obviously just depends on where a fire would start, but we are going to systematically evacuate Rossmoor. And like we said before, if you just want to leave Rossmoor because you got an evacuation warning, but another part of Rossmoor is under an evacuation, a mandatory evacuation, then we will likely make, well, not likely, we will make the mandatory evacuation routes a priority. So if you're coming from the other side of Rossmoor and you have to wait 5 or 10 minutes while we flood people out from the opposite direction, that's what we're going to do, because we need to get people out from the area that's more impacted. It will take time. We do need patience. We need people to drive slowly and pay attention to the police officers and the community service officers that we have that will be directing traffic and getting people out as safely as we can. And then can we have a trial evacuation for each section of Rossmoor? That's not something that we'll be able to do from a police department perspective or the city perspective. We did learn a lot from our evacuation in May. While it was a small sample size, we did learn that a lot of people are fairly prepared, and these types of presentations are just going to continue to get people to understand that preparation is key when it comes to evacuating in an emergency like this. I think that's it, unless there are other questions that I didn't see on there.
Thank you, Drew. That was wonderful, as usual. Going back to the lessons learned on our May 15th evacuation drill out of Eagle Ridge Mutual 68, what did you as the police department find that perhaps we residents need to more fully prepare for, or EPO can do a better job messaging to the community?
I think that one of the things that we learned and that we would love for more people to take note of is, and we talked about it a couple of times here, but we have to look out for ourselves. We have to prepare. We have to have a plan in place. On that day, we had everybody evacuate to Heather Farm. That's a possible evacuation point. For me personally, I would want you guys to have a place to go already. I don't want you guys to be relying on having to rely on the Red Cross or any temporary evacuation points that we have. I want you to have a family member, a friend, like Noel was saying, a hotel that is easily accessible for you, and just get to a place where you can relax and not have to be burdened with dealing with all the stuff that you're going to be dealing with. So if you have that ability to have a plan to get somewhere else and to be able to relax and take some time to kind of collect yourself, that's the best.
That's great. Thank you. That's very helpful. I want to remind residents part of returning back to Rossmoor securely and getting prepared for any property damage would be to document any property damage you have through cell phone videos or photos for later insurance claims. Go ahead and contact your insurance company and begin filing your claim as soon as reasonably possible. Hopefully you have done a home inventory as part of your preparation for any disaster here by going around and photographing and itemizing property that you have inside your house and inside your garage or your carport, and that will help you so that you've completed this in preparation for any future disaster. And then we like to remind folks, take notes during all calls with your insurance agent, broker, or claims adjuster. And we have some wonderful information on our website that Harris Greenberg has provided on how to inventory your documents that you need, personal, medical, property, healthcare documents, and insurance and other resources, and how to inventory your home, do a full home inventory so you are prepared. So Drew, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. And Nancy, do we have any remaining questions in the chat box?
Thanks, Fran. I was just going through them. I think we have this is what happens when you have very experienced and saged presenters. They can do two things at one time, which is go through their presentations and check the chat box. So I think we have answered. Oh, there's one that just came in about 1 minute ago. Does Zone Haven have an app? This person couldn't find one, but could find it on their laptop. I believe there is an app. Is that not right, Drew?
I believe it just came out, so I'm actually trying to look it up right now.
Okay.
I actually just got an email this morning about aware. It's Zone Haven Aware 2.0 is what it's called.
Okay.
But I'm trying to find the app. I've always just done it on the website.
Yeah, I don't think there is an app. I think it's just through a website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says on the email that I think they might be developing an app, but it's not out yet.
That's my understanding. That's my understanding that it's in the making.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
Zone Haven website, it doesn't automatically refresh when there's new information out. So you just have to hit the refresh button and kind of reload the web page whenever you get in there.
Also, I wanted to cover, when Fran was mentioning the inventorying and the other information, what to look for on the EPO website is the FEMA Emergency Financial First Aid Kit, EFFAK. And there's a whole bunch of information on that. There are forms and checklists to take care of identifying the paperwork that Noel was talking about, for your prescriptions, for your contacts, for all of your doctors and veterinarians, and all of that information. There are checklists for all of that in the FEMA Emergency Financial First Aid Kits, and that shows up in a couple of places on the EPO website. I have a video presentation for that and under the previous emergency preparedness fair tab, but it's also repeated on the resident resources section.
Can I add something, Fran? While I was listening to Drew talk, and I was listening, and I know there's a lot of folks in Rossmoor that already volunteer.
Mhm.
Please be mindful that if you volunteer for other organizations like Salvation Army, Red Cross, CERT, you need to make sure before you put that other hat on that your house is in order first. Okay. So I know that a lot of people wear a lot of different hats. I used to as well. I used to volunteer for like 4 different organizations, and I'd have to choose which one I went to. But before I could do any of that, I had a household to take care of. I had a husband, I had a kid, I had animals. So I think it's awesome how active and engaged everybody is in their community and stuff like this. But please, this is so important. You can't help anyone else until you've helped yourself. Okay, you have to do you first. Then you can go out and do the rest of your good work and your good deeds. But you got to get your house in order first, okay? Especially for those of you that are out there that are the resources that are helping your community. You're no good to anybody if you're not taken care of. So you first, please.
Very good counsel. Very good counsel, Noel. Nancy, are there any more questions? One last shot at this, so we can let Noel and Lieutenant Drew get.
Yes, I think we probably can. The last question that just came in is relative to what the mutual boards have been told to do. I'm assuming that is regarding the evacuations. It wasn't specific. I'm not sure, other than working with EPO and CERT to make sure that people are ready and prepared to take care of themselves and to help their neighbors where they can. I don't know that the mutual boards are doing anything specific in the area of evacuations.
There was one other question also about the relighting your own pilot lights that needs to be addressed.
I think Drew addressed that, and it was no. PG&E is the only one that can come out and relight pilots.
Okay. And if we're done with all of the questions, I did have that short video presentation about how to make the most out of the EPO and CERT YouTube videos, and how to subscribe to our channel so you get notified whenever a new meeting has been posted as the videos. So if that's okay with you, Fran, I'd like to show that.
Have a good week, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Noel, and thank you, Lieutenant Drew. Marvelous, marvelous information. Take it away, Harris.
Okay, so I'm not going to talk now. I'm going to let the video take precedence as I narrate it. The Rossmoor EPO was originally established about 30 years ago, but only recently gone into the 21st century by establishing a website in 2018 to share information about how our senior residents can prepare for, survive, and recover from natural and man-made disasters. You see on here the EPO website, www.rossmoorepo.org. In 2020, with the onset of COVID, the normal monthly EPO meetings stopped in March of 2020 because of the restrictions due to COVID. And we switched over to doing virtual meetings using Zoom. And with that, we also created a YouTube channel. The edited videos recorded from Zoom are posted as unlisted YouTube videos, and they will not show up on a standard Google or YouTube search. But if we post the YouTube links on the website, they can easily be viewed by residents of Rossmoor who access the EPO website. There is a Zoom playlist created on that YouTube channel. And here is the link on the bottom of the slide, as well as a QR code that can be scanned to put the link directly in your tablet or phone. Anytime you watch an EPO YouTube video, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and there are some benefits to doing that. If you subscribe, you'll get full access to the Zoom meeting playlist. You automatically get email notifications whenever new videos are posted, and the playlist tracks your progress in viewing the videos that have been posted, so you won't miss any that you might find of importance. This is what a typical EPO Zoom meeting recording looks like when you go to access it on YouTube. You'll notice the YouTube video frame over here, and there's icons along the bottom. And then down below here is a button for subscribing. And once you click on that button, you'll be prompted to input your email address. And from that point on, you'll get the updates for having subscribed to the channel. This is also what the playlist looks like. In this case, it's the most recent one at the time of the recording of this video, and there are 30 videos in the playlist. The playlist is shown in reverse chronological order, starting from the most recent and going all the way back to May of 2020. So Rossmoor EPO and Rossmoor area CERT YouTube videos have some special features that you may not know how to use. This presentation will show you how to turn closed captions on and off, how to turn subtitles in any of 15 additional languages on, and how to access the timestamped chapters that allow you to immediately jump to the time in the video with the presentation that you're most interested in. So this is typically what the timestamped table looks like on the EPO website. So when they're listing the different meetings on the website, currently you'll see a link like this to go to a PDF file of Les Putnam's slides, and a link like this that takes you to the YouTube video. And this is what the timestamp, in this case, it's a table of contents, but when you're on the YouTube channel, these show up as chapters. So in this case, Fran Gibson's opening remarks. If you want to listen to Les Putnam's utility shutdown, you would jump to this time. And if you wanted to skip all of that and go to how to survive a public safety power shutdown, you would jump to this time. When you just go to a YouTube channel, There's other YouTube videos shown, but you don't see the chapters. This is one of our EPO videos. Now, if you hover your mouse over here, you'll see a little caption that says chapters. And when you click on that, what you now see is just the EPO chapters for to the timestamp sections of the video that you can jump to immediately. And this is a scroll bar here. You can scroll down for more of those. Same screen here. Again, there's a subscription button over here. You can also get to the list of chapters down on the bottom here where you see the words show more. You click on that and you'll get the listing similar to the one that's on the website. If you're ready to turn on or turn off closed captioning, it's this little CC icon on the bottom of the YouTube frame. Clicking on that will toggle the closed captions on and off. If you want to see closed captions or subtitles in a different language, you need to click on the gear icon right next to the CC. And clicking on that gives you a list like this, but the subtitles show up right over here. And now it's saying that there are closed captions in 17 different ones, and right now they're off. Clicking on this again now shows you that they're off, but it also shows you another scrolling list. Here's the scroll bar, and you can scroll down and change them to Arabic, Chinese, English, etc. And that's it. Those are the new features that you may not be aware of. Whenever you watch a Rossmoor EPO or a Rossmoor area CERT YouTube video created from our Zoom meetings. Keep safe and stay resilient.
Thank you, Harris. That was great. Well, thank you for all who attended. The information that you've received today is going to go into a 3-part EPO wildfire evacuations tip sheet, which we will have out and at your beck and call. We will post it on our website, and we'll probably have it also distributed through the administrative office at Gateway, so people have a hand copy of what to do to stay safe during wildfire evacuations. I want to thank all of you who came. Excellent material. And I will get back in touch with you regarding some of the issues that were brought up in the questions and comments section. Thank you all. This was a great meeting. Take care and stay safe and stay cool.